Welcome back to the Secret Underground Lair. So today we're going to do a little bit of repair on this joint here. It occurred to me overnight, why didn't I use the wire wheel on those dovetail tenons like I did on the last table? That gives a little bit of flexibility that I was probably lacking that caused that joint to go crazy. Anyway, so we'll repair that, do a final sand on everything, and hopefully put on some varathane. Or urethane, polyurethane. I'm going to use an outdoor blend for polyurethane so it'll withstand the elements better than an indoor polyurethane. That's today's video. Taking the little skirts off the table, one to repair this little guy that was cracked here. So I was gluing it back together and it occurred to me, why don't I just put the dovetail tenon in there right now and it would just be like a dovetail piece. I thought, yeah, in fact, why don't I do that on all the pieces? So I have done that. I have inserted the dovetails into the dovetail tenons into the skirt pieces themselves, and now this just looks like a dovetail joint piece. So that'll just get inserted right into the leg when I'm ready to do the final assembly. So I'm just finishing off the last one here. I'll set the camera up and just show you what I'm doing here, and then we'll get into some final sanding. So pretty simple process really. I'm just inserting some glue into the joint and then putting some glue on half of the dovetail itself, the dovetail tenon. Spread that evenly. And then just insert that in. And it's a snug fit, not a super tight fit, but a snug fit, usually, which is good. And then just to mop up some of the glue and fill in a little bit of the crack, I'm gonna sprinkle a little bit of sawdust in there. I did keep a bunch of this very fine sawdust from sanding, just for this purpose. Mopping up glue and filling in little bits left over. And just using a stick to bring any of that out. Sorry, any of the over glue spill out, just getting that cleaned out. So we wind up with a clean looking dovetail joint. We'll just do the same on this end. There we are, good looking joint. Okay, so we got all four skirts done. So I'm gonna do a final sand now on the legs. Just kind of take off a bit of the edge on the legs and clean up some of the faces, just make sure they're nice and smooth. Down to 180 grit is what we'll go with that. This initial sand is just at 120, and we'll get to 180 after that. I'm just going to do these by hand rather than use the machine. A little bit of chatter, and I think the machine's overkill here. Back with a block and some paper. You just got a block of 120. And just be giving a light sand to everything. On this curve, I did this with the drum sander. So I'm just going to go over this with 180 when I'm ready. All right, there's our legs all sanded. I'm spending a little bit of time making sure I get that sharpness off the corner edge. If you've worked with cedar, you kind of appreciate the dangers of splinters. If you haven't worked with cedar, you get a cedar splinter that goes into your finger, and literally within minutes you'll see infection The body, you know, a human body doesn't react well with cedar going below the skin. I think that's one of the reasons why bugs don't like it so much. It's got something in that yeah, not very welcoming. But it sure has a beautiful aroma to it, and it machines really well. It is a very, very soft wood. So you do have to kind of go carefully. Not really a structural wood, so you won't see this used for any structural members unless it's really, really thick stuff. But yeah, it has a beautiful green, beautiful coloring. Nice to work with. So that's the legs done to 120. I'm going to go over them once again up to 180, and then it'll be ready for some finish. All right, I'm working on the shelf now. The legs have been sanded down to 180. I've gone around the edge of the shelf here and got that sanded up to 180, down to 180, up to 180. And now I'm just working on the placement of the slats. So I have them where I want them, and I'm just going to use my nail gun and just tack them in. Probably one tack on each side. I don't think they're going to need a lot. They're not undergoing any strain of any sort. So they're just there for placement. One issue I do have is they are just slightly proud. So you can see they stick up a little bit. So after they have been tacked in place, I'm going to put a little filler where the tacks are, and then I'm going to use the belt sander and sand them all down. And then we'll go over with some fine sandpaper to get it exactly smooth and ready for finish. So that's the next step. All right, I've tacked the slats into the shelf. I haven't filled them yet, but I figure I'm going to do the sanding first. I have a funny feeling that I may wind up exposing those nails, so well, let's see how far we go. There will be another sanding after this anyway. This is just 80 grit, so we'll be doing some more sanding, and I'll fill the holes before we get into that final sanding. Got the Anaconda here, hopefully sucking up some of this. I've taped up my dust bag best I can because it doesn't work as well as it should. And I got a fan blowing air out the window, so let's see how bad this gets. So I can see I have just touching one of those little nails here, over here as well. So I'm going to use my nail set, just drive those in a little bit farther and carry on. We're getting close. There's a fair amount of material to remove, but cedar being very soft, belt sander being very aggressive, I think we'll get there, and not too much more. So we're getting very close. I touched down over here, a little bit of a gouge there, but I can bring that out with some fine sanding. So I'll just try and touch up a little bit up here at the top, a little bit over here, mostly this side here. This side's pretty good. I think I'll leave that, but I just want to get this side addressed. Okay, so that gives us our shelf roughly sanded. I'll now go back and fill in these holes with a little bit of filler. I'm going to blow it off with the air gun first, but I think that'll do. All right, a lot of sanding. Didn't want to bore you with all that, but we've got all the pieces now up to 180. So we are ready actually for final assembly. So we'll get a bite of lunch, come back, and we'll put it all together with glue for the final time. All right, we're back. Our pieces have been sanded. Oh, I forgot to sand this a little bit off. Sorry, one more bit of sanding to do. All right, now we got all the pieces sanded. so let's start putting this thing together. Leg 3 and leg 3. 2 and 2. Okay. Now, before I go too far, I should be putting glue into those joints as well. So I'm just going to slip it back apart, one leg at a time. Primarily I want to get glue in here. Not so much concerned about the sides here, although I'll probably put some on there, but it's mostly in here that I want. I'm just going to get a wet rag and wipe that up. Okay. Now we can move on to the top, and I have labeled every one of these. Going to go to leg 3 and leg 4, so I know that it belongs here. This will be a little bit tricky. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a rasp, and I'm just going to take a little bit off the edge of each of these dovetails just to make them a little bit easier to slip in. It's going to be a really tight fit this time around. All right, got that in. Or rasped out a little bit rather. Okay, so I've got a good flush fit here, and a flush fit here. That'll work. 3 and 2. Again, just taking the rasp and taking a little bit off this is helpful. Okay, we're flush fit there and there. Have a slight gap here, but I think that'll come in when I put these guys in place. All right, last thing I'm going to do is go get a couple of tension straps or tie-down straps, put it around the base, around the legs here, and put it around here just to provide some tension to hold everything tight. Hopefully draw in this just a little bit here where we have a slight gap and a slight gap there. So I'll be back in just a second with some straps. Okay, I got a couple tension straps, binding straps on the bottom, pulling the legs in tight. And I got one up here on the top, pulling the skirt in tight. That did kind of cinch up the joints a little bit. So overall, I'm pleased with the joinery on the top, very pleased with the joinery on the bottom. Just a little bit of glue squeezing out from the application of those clamps, so that's good. They're doing their job. So we're at a point now where the next step we'll be putting on the top. I'm going to make sure that I get the slats aligning on the top and bottom. That's kind of what our table's going to look like. You can't see that very well, can you? I'll bring the camera out so you can see it. So that's the table as it stands. I'll get this adjusted a little better. That's how it's going to look, minus the straps, of course. I'm going to attach the top to the skirts using those little clips that we used on the demi-lune table. I figure that'll be the nicest way to get it all connected. I have to go out and get some outdoor urethane or varathane to finish this. This is the varathane that I'm putting onto their little cedar end table. So I just thought you might like to know what that is. It is good for outdoor use. I haven't used this before, so I can't tell you anything about its durability, but this is the product that I picked. Okay, back with some outdoor varathane diamond wood finish. This is crystal clear, done in matte. So it's going to give it a little stir and then we'll put it on. This will just bring out the cedar a little bit. That's lovely. This is a water-based polyurethane. The oil-based polyurethanes tend to make the wood look a little yellower. So I wasn't going for that. I wanted to keep it as light as I could, and the water-based ones will do that. In fact, I may do a little bit more sanding. I can see where I have a little bit of wood filler left over. It's leaving a mark, so that's probably going to get sanded right off again. And I'll be interested to see how this dries, if it retains this kind of golden color that we're getting, or if it kind of returns to a dry cedar state. So we'll see what it looks like when in a couple hours. One of the interesting things noticing about this particular product, this is Varathane, a Varathane product. I had been using the Home Depot Bear brand for other projects where I'm applying some Varathane. I find that this foams substantially more than the Bear product does. Just an interesting observation. Not sure what that means in terms of overall finish, but you get a lot more bubbles in this than in the Bear product. Okay, I'm going to flip this back over and let it dry right side up. Flip this over and we'll do the underside. Okay, give that a little bit of time to set up. Probably give it a light sand with 220 and one more coat. Although I may do a little bit deeper sanding here just to kind of clear up a couple little areas I don't like. We'll see how it settles. All right, back in a bit. And that is our table fully done. Well, not quite fully done. I still have to put the brackets on to hold the top onto the skirt, but that's how it looks. So I'll feature this in, well, I won't feature, but I'll show it in another video coming up. But I wanted to end the series with the table looking like this. So thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.